Hello, hello. Welcome to the Classic Literature Teacher podcast, the show where we delve into the essential skills that empower our teenagers to navigate the complexity of the modern world. I am your host, the Classic Literature Teacher, on this journey, and I am passionate about cultivating critical thinking in the minds of our young learners, our teenagers, our beautiful children. And to officially kick off our podcast channel, we are running a series of 5 episodes called Think Critically, Navigating a World Wired by AI. And I really wanted to start with this topic of AI because it is so current at the moment in our teenagers' world, in our own worlds, and especially in our teenagers' world, especially when it comes to things like academic study and academic understanding and the ability to produce work that is authentic and still resonates. It still has a voice for our teenagers. So today we're kicking off our series with a topic that's more relevant than ever before. It's in a world brimming with information and competing perspectives, the ability to think critically isn't just a skill, it's a necessity. Before we dive into anything to do with AI, I wanted to very quickly recap on what critical thinking is, because here at the Classic Literature Teacher, we're big fans of it. It's something that we really promote because it's the defining factor that will set a student's academic success apart from its counterparts. Thinking critically is the defining factor in what examiners and what teachers and what educators are looking for when it comes to exams. Can a teenager be able to look at a text or to be able to look at an idea and to be able to look at it critically? But it's not just for academic success. Thinking critically will equip them in the workforce, in relationships, in the wider world, how we interact socially. It has got so many important faculties to it. And in this world of AI, when things are becoming more automated, things are becoming easier, there's less thinking involved from a human interaction, thinking critically is going to become a crucial skill that we are all going to have to embrace. So what is critical thinking? It's not just about arguing or being skeptical. It's about analysing information, evaluating evidence, and making reasoned judgments. It's the toolkit our teenagers need to separate fact from fiction, to navigate the complexities of life, and to make more informed decisions that will shape their futures. So it's something that I think we all, as parents, I'm a parent as well, we need to be super conscious of and super aware of. And when they are bringing their work home from school and, you asking them how they are going, how they are achieving in class, and the little feedback that they give you, because you probably won't get much, look at, are they able to think and write critically? And if they're not, then that is the number one question you should be asking your teacher or asking their teacher. How can you, as parents at home, support their critical thinking skills? How can you help them to develop them further? What tasks can they be doing? What ways can they practice it? How do we get our teens to understand that it's okay to use a computer or to use an iPad or a tablet or whatever technology they're using? There's different systems out there and apps and websites that they can print out an essay in less than 5 minutes. Would be naive to think that they don't have access to all of these sorts of resources, but they need to be able to understand what they're producing. They have to be able to analyse it themselves. They have to be able to interpret it and to be able to reflect on it. So as we embark on this journey together, you and I, parents together, the teacher and parent relationship, we'll explore how this digital age has transformed the way that we access information as grown-ups, as well as how our teenagers are accessing this information, the challenges this presents, and most importantly, how we can equip our teenagers with the critical thinking skills they need to really thrive in this ever-changing world and embrace it. AI shouldn't be something that we are intimidated or scared by. I know that there is a whole new podcast topic out there about the dangers of AI, but it's here and it's here to stay. And so we need to get on board with it and work out how we can harness the power of AI when it comes to our children's academic success. So let's grab a cup of coffee and let's dive into the fascinating world of critical thinking. So first of all, I want to define what critical thinking is in this age of AI. So let's start at the beginning. Critical thinking is a term we hear often, but it's not just about arguing or being critical in the negative sense. Instead, critical thinking is about analysing information, evaluating evidence, and making reasoned judgments. It's about asking questions, not just accepting things at face value. It's the ability to think outside the box, basically. And, I think a lot of our teenagers' thoughts and ways that they approach information is modeled to them by the wider community that they've grown up in, family and friends. And so I think it starts with us as parents and as teachers and as adults, that how do we approach problem solving? How do we approach topics of interest that we're talking about at home with our children? Do we show perspective? Do we show the ability to look at different sides of the coin when we're talking about a problem or talking about a news item that we've seen on TV? Are we modeling that for our children? Because we need to look at why critical thinking is important for our teenagers. And in their academic work, critical thinking can help them understand complex texts. It can help them solve problems. It can develop strong arguments in their writing and orally if they're doing a speech or a debate. But the benefits go beyond the classroom. In their personal lives, it helps them navigate social situations, making wise choices if they're out with their friends, especially. Peer pressure is a huge factor in motivation for teenagers. And if they don't have strong critical thinking skills, then their ability to be able to assess the situation and work out what's right and wrong, and not just the linear black and white, what is right and wrong, but the knock-on consequences that their actions might have for other people or for things that might happen to them down the track. It's really, really important that they have those critical thinking skills for making those wise choices and even understanding themselves better and being able to look at themselves and really see things objectively, like, oh, okay, this is why I storm off when I've had an argument with my mum, is because I don't want to listen to what my mum's got to say, because I feel she doesn't hear me and she doesn't understand me. But then on the other hand, I don't really understand her. I'm not willing to stand and listen to her. So it's all these sorts of reflective things that they learn about themselves, which in time can also produce better relationships. So when we look ahead to their future careers, the importance of critical thinking becomes even more evident. And I know this firsthand from being out in the business field and having my own business for many years and employing young people coming out of school and out of university. Employers value employees who can think critically, as they're able to tackle challenges, they're able to innovate, they're able to make sound decisions, they're able to use their initiative, which is a huge thing in business. If you don't have to sort of stand and constantly model things for somebody, if they can go ahead and come up with solutions by themselves, that is the fast track to promotion, I'm telling you. And in a rapidly changing world, these skills are more crucial than ever. So as parents and educators, it's vital that we encourage our teenagers to develop these skills, to question, to reflect, and to think deeply. It's not just about preparing them for exams or the next stage of their education. It's actually about preparing them for life. So let's look at the age of information overload. So in today's digital age, the way that we access information has been transformed by advancements in technology, especially with the advent of the internet and then from there artificial intelligence. If you think about how technology and how connected we all are in such a short amount of time, like literally only 20, 30 years, has exploded. And things have happened at a very, very, very quick rate. And this is the time when we need to start catching up quickly, because our teenagers, the knowledge, I mean, my children, they know how to work technology faster than I do, and they're children. So we need to be constantly trying to keep up with the rapid rate that technology is moving, that our teenagers and our children are able to keep up with quicker than we can. So these tools have opened up a world of knowledge at our fingertips, making it easier than ever to find answers to our questions and to a certain extent do the work for us. But what does that mean for teenagers? So this ease of access comes with its own set of challenges. And one of the most significant is information overload. So with so much content available, it can be overwhelming to sift through it all and determine what's credible and what's not. And this is where critical thinking becomes crucial. The amount of times that I have had essays handed in class where it's just basically been a plot summary of the book, or it's just been a factual retelling of a historical point in history. If we're talking about a novel, and I've asked them to go and talk about how, the setting of World War II affects the character's behaviour. And all I'm getting back is just a retelling of the facts. There's no critical thinking involved. And this is the problem now, and it's only going to get worse because our children are going to have more and more and more easy access to information, and they're going to have more tools at their hand to basically regurgitate this information. And if they can't read between the lines, between the facts, and sift out the opinions and create their own opinions, then they're going to get left behind. So the abundance of information has also led to the spread of misinformation. And this is a really hot topic. It's easy for false information to be shared widely, especially on social media platforms, where sensational headlines often grab more attention than the nuanced truths. And we all know that our teenagers' attention spans are very short, and obviously they're going to be caught up in sensational headlines. So this can lead to confusion and in some cases very harmful consequences if they go down a rabbit hole of misinformation about something, and that we need to be there to catch them when they fall. So as parents and educators, it's important to teach our teenagers how to navigate this complex information landscape. They need to learn how to evaluate sources. They need to be able to identify biases, and they need to verify facts. This is something that we go into at school level, at high school level, but not obviously to the depth that I think teenagers need to go into it. We just simply don't have the time. There's so much on the curriculum that we've got to get through from a teaching point of view, that these critical thinking skills kind of get left up to the individual. And some children and some teenagers get it faster than others, and then some get left behind. But one of the number one reasons why teenagers struggle in the arts and humanities subjects, especially subjects like English literature, is that they are not making critical judgments clear enough in their writing and in their expression. And this is why they are struggling with what they are producing in class. So they have to be able to learn how to evaluate the sources that they're reading and look at who is writing this piece, what is their context, are there any particular or potential biases, and they need to make sure that the facts that they're reading are verified. They're not just plucked from thin air. So by developing these critical thinking skills, they can become informed consumers of information, and they're able to discern truth from falsehood and make decisions based on accurate and reliable information. And we all can help with this at home. This almost can be done subconsciously at home, watching the news or listening to the radio. It's just about making little comments here and there about something that you hear and go, oh, that doesn't sound quite right. I wonder what his motivation is for putting that TV advert out there, or that song on the radio. You can have these organic conversations with your teenagers. It doesn't have to be a sit down and now we're going to do a lesson on critical thinking. It's just about picking up these skills in your daily life and applying them. So let's look at the role of critical thinking. And we've talked about what critical thinking is and the challenges of information overload. But let's delve deeper into the role of critical thinking in navigating this landscape. In a world where information is abundant, critical thinking is not just useful, it's essential. So critical thinking helps us to evaluate sources. It prompts us to ask questions like, who is the author? What is their purpose? Are they credible? It also helps us identify biases, as we've just talked about, both in the information we consume and our own perspectives. Now, this is crucial for making informed decisions that are based on evidence rather than assumptions or emotions. So we need to be really careful, so determined to have people believe our point. Sometimes we don't stand back a little minute and think, am I coming from a point of assuming this has happened? Is it because I'm emotional about this topic and so I want it to be true? Or are there actual facts there? Because what we think and how we think is what is passed on to our children. So let's consider some practical examples. When reading a news article, critical thinking helps us assess the reliability of the information and the objectivity of the reporting. And we all know the media is very topical, especially in election years, where you will have right-wing and left-wing publications, and there are biases that come with that. And it's very, very hard for people to take information seriously if they're one side or the other, reading something from another perspective. So when you are reading something, you need to be always reading it with your eyes open of, okay, well, this is this particular journalist's opinion, or this is this particular publication's opinion. How does it relate to the position that I'm from? And is there any common middle ground there? Because we don't want to shut ourselves off from other opinions as well. We don't want to, not read something because you think straight away it's wrong or it's biased. So you can see how critical thinking is being applied all the time, whether we know it or not. And it's all about decision making and choosing where to go for your information and your sources, and then analyzing those sources as well and making sure that you're getting a wide range of sources. Another example is when making purchasing decisions. It helps us weigh the pros and cons, consider the source of advertisements, and avoid impulse buying based on persuasive marketing. So supermarkets do this really well. They will always have specials at the end of each aisle, which are prime kind of advertisement space for food suppliers, because that's where people will walk past and they'll see those and they'll grab them, especially up by the checkout. So there's psychology that goes into purchasing decisions that shops and suppliers put a lot of energy into. And a third example is when faced with social issues, it enables us to understand different perspectives, analyse arguments, and engage in constructive dialogue, because the world is full of diversity out there, and you will strike it, our teens will strike it in every corner that they turn. And they need to be able to converse and discuss and reflect considerably with different people from different backgrounds all the time. And how well that they can do that by thinking critically is going to really equip them to succeed socially. So by fostering critical thinking skills in our teens, we're empowering them to be independent thinkers who can navigate the complexities of the modern world with confidence and clarity. We've talked quite a bit today about critical thinking. We've talked about an introduction to critical thinking. We've talked about the age of information overload. And then we've talked about the role of critical thinking with our teenagers. And this is kind of an introduction episode to the role that AI is playing in our world. And so today we looked at it in a very general sense, that AI isn't just about ChatGPT or one of those other pieces of software that will do all the work for you. AI comes in many forms across the technological world. And in a very general sense, the internet, for example, and all the different websites and apps that our children can tap into from an educational point of view. And these are not just apps that they're so-called cheating on. These are apps and websites that are approved and are used in schools and in universities and in colleges. And we're going to go into those in future episodes. But today's episode was more about a general introduction to critical thinking and how it applies in this age of information. And so as we wrap up today's episode, let's quickly recap the key points we've discussed. So critical thinking is more than just arguing or being skeptical. It's about analysing information, evaluating evidence, and making reasoned judgments. And in our age of information overload, it's essential for navigating the vast amounts of information available and for making informed decisions. Which websites are more credible than others for our students, our children, to be able to access? And do we know about them? And do we understand them ourselves? And Are we able to engage with these websites and get on board with it as well? So we're all on the same page. We've also talked about the challenges that come with the digital age, including the difficulty in distinguishing between credible sources and misinformation. But most importantly, we've highlighted the role of critical thinking in helping us evaluate sources, identify bias, and apply these skills in everyday situations. Now, I encourage all you parents out there to engage in conversations with your teenagers about the importance of critical thinking. And you don't have to use that word critical thinking. You can talk to them about the importance of thinking outside the box or the importance of seeing the other person's perspective. There are many different ways you can sugarcoat that term critical thinking because it's not a sexy term. It's not a very attractive term for teenagers. They're not going to know what you're talking about, probably, in most cases. So it's about introducing it in a very organic way. Discuss what they read, what they watch, what they hear, and encourage them to ask questions and think critically about the information they encounter. And that's not all we have in store for you. So in our next episode, we will dive deeper into the world of critical thinking, obviously, but we're exploring strategies to help your teenagers develop these essential skills. So make sure to tune in. Thank you for joining me today on the Classic Literature Teacher podcast. I look forward to continuing this journey with you, and until next time, keep thinking critically.